On the morning of July 16th, 2025, in Paparsaba, a 13-year-old girl was found unconscious in a drain outside her school dormitory. It was 3 in the morning. Most of her classmates were still awake. And yet, not a single person claimed to have seen what happened. The police closed the case quickly. No foul play, they said. But when Zara's mother prepared her daughter's body for burial, she noticed bruises, and that was when everything unraveled. The death of Zara Qairina in Sabah, Malaysia, has since become one of the most shocking, heartbreaking, and contested cases in recent Malaysian history. A 13-year-old girl, a boarding school, a case closed too fast, and a mother who refused to let her daughter be forgotten. Zara Qairina Mahathir. She was 13 years old, a Form 1 student, that's the equivalent of 7th grade, who had just started at Sekolah Menengah Kebangsaan Agama Tundatu Mustafa. SMK Tundatu Mustafa, as it is known, is a religious boarding school in Papar, a district in the interior of Sabah, about an hour's drive south of Kota Kinabalu. Boarding school is a big deal, especially at 13. You leave your family. You live with strangers. You build your world within those walls. Zara had just begun building hers. Her mother's name is Noraida Lamat. And from everything reported about this family, Noraida was exactly the kind of mother who paid attention, who noticed things, who would not, could not, simply accept an explanation that didn't feel right. That instinct would become the most important force in this entire case. Now, boarding schools in Malaysia, particularly religious residential schools, house hundreds of adolescents far from home in a closed community with limited outside supervision. And in 2025, bullying in Malaysian schools had become a national conversation. Not a new one, but a louder one. Reports in social media were filled with accounts of hierarchies within dormitories. Older students, newer students, power dynamics that school administrators were either unaware of or, allegedly, chose not to address. Zara had only just arrived at this school. She was 13, far from home, in a dormitory full of girls she barely knew. According to reports, shortly after her death, accounts began circulating on social media claiming that Zara had been a victim of bullying in the weeks leading up to July 16th. Whether those accounts were accurate, whether anyone in authority knew, and whether anyone chose to do nothing, those are the questions at the very heart of this case. Let me walk you through what we know happened that night. At approximately 3 a.m. on July 16th, 2025, Zara Qairina was found unconscious. She was lying in a drain on the ground floor, directly beneath the third-floor female dormitory of her school. She had suffered broken arms and broken legs. Just let that sit for a moment. A 13-year-old girl. Broken arms, broken legs, alone in a drain at 3 in the morning. What makes this even harder to process is that at 3 a.m. in a boarding school dormitory, most students are still awake. And yet, not one person reported seeing what happened. Not one person came forward immediately to say they witnessed the fall. Police reports were filed in the early hours of that morning. Zara was transported to Hospital Queen Elizabeth in Kota Kinabalu, the main hospital for the region. She was placed on life support. The injuries were severe. Brain activity was not detected. On July 17th, 2025, the decision was made to disconnect life support. Zara Qairina Mahathir was pronounced dead. She was 13 years old. She was buried in her hometown, Kampung Kalamau Mesapol, and Sipitan, Sabah. After Zara's death, the initial police investigation moved quickly. Sabah Police Commissioner Datuk Jaute Dikun stated that investigations were focused on two main elements: the cause of death and Zara's surrounding environment. 60 witnesses were interviewed, and then the police announced they had completed their investigation. The initial conclusion found no signs of foul play. The case was closed. Just stop and think about that for a second. A 13-year-old girl is found in a drain in the dead of night beneath a 3-story dormitory with no witnesses, and the case is wrapped up before her family had fully processed that she was gone. But there was something else, something that added a very uncomfortable layer to an already troubling situation. The school's former headmaster, Rosni Nasir, was the wife of Malaysia's Deputy Minister of Higher Education, Mustafa Sakmud. Rosni denied any involvement in the case, stating she had retired from the role months before the incident. But the family had already filed a separate police report. They alleged that the headmaster had attempted to obstruct the early reporting of Zara's death. Whether that allegation was ever fully investigated remains, as of the time of this video, unclear. Now here is where this case shifted. When Noraida, Zara's mother, was preparing her daughter's body for burial, she noticed something: bruises on Zara's body that had not been explained. For a mother who had just lost her 13-year-old daughter, and who had been told that the case was essentially closed, finding unexplained bruises on her child's body was not something she could walk away from. She filed another police report on August 3rd, and then her lawyer revealed something that stopped many Malaysians in their tracks. Police had allegedly failed to collect Zara's clothing for forensic investigation. Let me say that again. In a case involving the death of a minor, found unconscious beneath a 3-story building with no witnesses, standard forensic procedure would require that clothing be collected and examined. According to Zara's lawyer, that did not happen. This directly contradicts normal investigative practice in criminal cases. Meanwhile, on social media, a post went viral claiming that Zara's death had been orchestrated by a group of bullies, and that those bullies included, allegedly, children from powerful and politically connected families. The family, the police, and the Sabah government all denied involvement by any prominent figures, but the public was no longer willing to accept the official version. On August 8th, 2025, the Attorney General's Chambers of Malaysia took an extraordinary step. They ordered the exhumation of Zara Qairina's grave. Her body was exhumed on August 9th. The cemetery was tightly guarded by police. Media personnel arrived. The public gathered. Malaysia's Prime Minister, Anwar Ibrahim, personally assured the public that the investigation would be transparent and fair, and that no one would escape punishment if found responsible. A case that had been closed was now being reopened at the highest level of the Malaysian government. Following the exhumation and the review by Malaysia's Royal Police, the Attorney General's Chambers announced that charges would be brought. On August 20th, 2025, just over a month after Zara's death, 5 teenagers appeared before the Kota Kinabalu Children's Court. All 5 pleaded not guilty. They were charged under Section 507C(1) of Malaysia's Penal Code, using abusive threatening, or insulting words against Zara. They face up to 1 year's imprisonment, a fine, or both. A gag order was applied to restrict publication of proceedings details, in line with Malaysia's Children's Act 2001, which protects the identities of minors in court. The next court mention was scheduled for September 25th, 2025. Now here is what I want you to sit with. The charges filed were for verbal abuse, abusive words, not for the fall, not for what happened in that dormitory at 3 a.m., the question of how Zara ended up in that drain, with broken arms and broken legs, with bruises her mother only discovered when preparing her for burial, remains, as of this video, without a complete public answer. That investigation is still ongoing, and Noreida, Zara's mother, is still waiting. I want to close tonight just thinking about Noreida for a moment. A mother who sent her 13-year-old daughter to a school she trusted, who received a phone call no parent should ever receive, who was handed a conclusion she couldn't accept, and who, in the middle of that grief, found the strength to file police reports, push for an exhumation, hire a lawyer, and stand in front of a grave while the country watched. I think about the moment she noticed those bruises, and I think about what it takes to keep going after that. In Malaysia, this case triggered something rare. Hundreds gathered in Sabah to demand justice. The case was raised in Parliament. The Prime Minister addressed it publicly. The Attorney General stepped in. All of that happened because one mother refused to be quiet, and because enough people, online and offline, kept saying her daughter's name. Zara Qairina Mahathir, 13 years old, Paparsaba. She deserved better, and her story deserves to be told. I have one question for you tonight. Given everything we've covered, the closed case, the bruises, the missing forensic evidence, the exhumation, and charges that cover only verbal abuse, do you believe the full truth of what happened to Zara Qairina has been told? Leave your thoughts below. I read every single one, and if this case moved you, share it. Because the more people know Zara's name, the harder it is for anyone to look away. Thank you so much for watching another episode of Treehouse Crime. If you want to support the channel and help me keep covering Southeast Asian cases that deserve more attention, the link is in the description below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe. It's completely free, and it means you won't miss the next case. And I will catch you in the next one.